Hey guys, it's me, Rich. You're being told that your right to vote is about to disappear overnight. You're hearing words like police state and Jim Crow 2.0 being thrown around like it's confetti. In this video, we're going to break down what the SAVE Act actually does, what changes for you, and why the political reaction has been explosive. And what we'll reveal is the story being pushed on TV by one party is very different from what's actually written in the bill. However, the real political fight behind this law may be even bigger than the law itself. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what changes and what does not. And by then, you'll be able to know why one party is against proof of citizenship when registering to vote. Let's get into it. All right, guys, welcome back to RPW Media, where we give you the straight story, even when it hurts. So let's talk about the SAVE Act, because if you've been watching cable news lately, you might think this bill is the end of our republic as we know it, the return to Jim Crow, or possibly even the start of a dystopian sci-fi movie. I mean, that's the tone that the left is letting out here. But get this, ready? If you are already registered to vote and you stay registered, nothing changes for you. That's right. You just go vote as normal. That's the part that nobody is leading with. Because if that is true, why is the political reaction so intense? Let's slow this down and walk through exactly what the bill says. Under the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, the SAVE Act, the ID requirement is specifically about proving U.S. citizenship when registering to vote for federal elections. It's not to vote for federal, it's when registering to vote. Now, in a nutshell, this is what will change with the SAVE Act. To register under the SAVE Act, you would need a passport or a birth certificate or naturalization document plus a photo ID. Is that really hard? That's to register to vote. Now, once registered, you vote normally like you already have in the past. Again, if you're already registered, you got nothing to worry about. You don't have to do anything. No kidding. So that's it. You would need proof again if you move to a new state, change your address, change party affiliation, or re-register after being removed from voter rolls for whatever reason. Apparently that happens. So it's only for registration. And here's the thing that every politician should be leading with. You already have to re-register by existing laws in your state, already on the books, if you do any of those things above anyway. You move to a new state, you got to register in that state. You change your address, they got to know where you're at, right? If you change your party affiliation, you absolutely have to re-register because the other party's not going to do it for you. And you have to re-register if you're removed from rolls because you got to get back on. So those laws are already there anyway. So the reality that you won't hear a single Democrat come out with is that if the law were passed tomorrow and you already registered to vote and you still live at the same address, then nothing at all changes for you. That's right. You just go vote. You don't have to get a birth certificate, and you don't have to get a passport or a real ID. You don't have to get anything. Now, how come you never heard that once from a single Democrat that's whining for the last several days? Because they are lying to you. The way they're talking, they want you to think that every time you go vote now, you have to have a birth certificate or a passport or a real ID or something like that. That is a lie. That's why they're saying it's like a poll tax, which, by the way, the Democrats famously created and used. So one more time, the SAVE Act requires proof of citizenship to register to vote. It requires re-verification in many situations that are already on the books in your states. It forces states to audit voter rolls so dead people and people that moved out of the state can't vote because they would never know they voted in the first place, right? Now, why do you think about that? Because Democrats use their names and addresses to vote. It adds penalties for election officials that get into the weeds with shenanigans during elections, and it impacts mail voting verification. But on the other hand, you are being told something very different. Now think about this. If the law does not say what they're saying it says, then why are Americans being told it does? Why are they lying to you? All right, hey guys, if you like our videos and you haven't done so already, you should become a subscriber to the channel. You can hit that notification bell and smack the like button because it helps us get our message out to more people. Thank you very much. Okay, so here's the ringleader on the garbage that's going around. It was Chuck Schumer. Give this a watch.
We've got to get this done, and we've got to get it done very quickly. The SAVE Act is an abomination. It's Jim Crow 2.0 across the country. We are going to do everything we can to stop it.
Right. So Schumer describes the SAVE Act as Jim Crow 2.0. Think about that comparison for a moment. Jim Crow laws were among the most infamous voting restrictions in American history, and they were 100% created, run, and owned by the Democrats. So the rhetoric here is not mild, guys. It is nuclear. So here is Schumer walking through the halls of Congress with a reporter asking him, hey, how do you compare it to Jim Crow? Give it a watch.
You recently called the SAVE Act Jim Crow. Can you explain how it's Jim Crow to require an ID to vote in elections, to drive a car, to purchase alcohol, go to the DMV?
He's not going to answer because he can't.
You said you're on the same page as...
What do you think? Should we restore normal order in the Senate and actually go back to the standing filibuster?
Guys.
You said that you're sending a proposal over there.
You see that? He didn't have a word to say because he knows he's full of crap. Now, critics say that the SAVE Act creates barriers and fear. But just like with Chuck Schumer, you saw there, none of them can come up with an explanation of how it creates barriers and fear that is actually found inside the bill. They lied instead. Supporters of the bill point out that Republicans historically supported major voting expansions, including post-Civil War voting rights, the 19th Amendment, because the Republicans were the ones that put the vote over, and significant Republican support in the 1964 Civil Rights Act. Democrats had so many members that did not vote for it, voted against it, that they relied on Republicans to overwhelmingly vote for it to get it passed. You'll never hear that, though. Opponents say that the modern political landscape is different. Supporters say the historical narrative has been rewritten and the fight becomes less about policy and more about the narrative. And then social media explodes, which is what the people who don't want just citizens voting wanted. Here's a clip that went viral of a Black American woman talking about the SAVE Act. Give it a watch.
Do here is the same thing that was done in the South for decades to prevent people of color from voting.
See, this is where my righteous anger pop up because I know what he's saying is a lie. I live in the South. I've been living in the South my whole life on the Gulf Coast. I go to vote every single time there's an election. And guess what? I show my ID. I write my signature. They check to make sure who I am. I go vote. No problems. Nobody asking me any questions. Nobody making me count the jelly beans in the jar. And quit lumping us in the people of color category. We're Black Americans. And we are citizens, and nobody is taking away our right to vote. What they are doing is they're using Black people, going back in the past, provoking emotional manipulation, because they know if they say Jim Crow or slavery, Black people are going to be like, oh my God, he's right. They're coming against us. This has nothing to do with you, Black people. Wake up. People of color he talking about is illegal migrants. They don't have IDs. That's their new voting base. Letting these people use you. I've been having an ID since I was 15 years old. I'm 50 years old. Every Black person I know has an ID.
God bless you.
You need an ID to drive. You need an ID to go into a club. You need an ID to fly on a plane. You need an ID to go into another country. You need an ID to buy liquor. You need an ID to buy cigarettes. I don't know any Black person without an ID. Even the poorest of the poor Black people have an ID. JJ down the street that dig in the trash can that I pass by, and he always bothering me about a little bit of money. And when I feeling a little giving, I give him $5. Guess what he do? He go straight into the liquor store and go buy him some liquor. But before he do, he present his ID. So even the homeless man got an ID.
You gotta love it, guys. You just absolutely gotta love it. Meanwhile, Republicans are celebrating that the bill reached the Senate. And they claim that they have the 50 votes, which means that J.D. Vance, the vice president, will break the tie. And Senate Majority Leader Thune is already going through the procedures to make sure that if and when the Democrats filibuster the SAVE Act vote, it will have to be a talking filibuster. You see, in the past, Democrats used the fact that even the fear of calling a filibuster was enough to make Republicans cower. So they never had to actually talk, which is what the filibuster is about. You get to say what you want to slow things down, but you have to talk. So he's going to make them talk around the clock. And then when it's all over and they can't talk anymore, every member of the Senate, then they're going to vote to pass the bill anyway. You got to wonder how these Democrats look their constituents in the eye and tell them, yes, I don't want to vote to stop illegal aliens from voting in our elections and possibly knocking your vote out. It's good for the country. All right. So at the end of the day, the SAVE Act debate is less about paperwork and more about trust. Trust in elections, trust in institutions, trust in each other. The upside is this conversation is forcing Americans to actually look at how elections work. And that kind of transparency, no matter where you stand, it's a good thing. All right, so tell me what you think about this in the comments below. I love hearing from you guys. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.